everyone, and welcome to one of my favorite videos to make. I love doing tag videos, and I'm so flattered that I was tagged by Mary from A Love Tart. I have linked her video down below. This is the Eyeshadow Junkies tag, and I think my very first makeup product that I went crazy with, and I continue to go crazy with, is eyeshadow. I just keep buying palette after palette in search of the perfect one. So there are 10 questions here, and I've listed them below in case you want to do this tag yourself. And I'm just gonna jump right in. Okay, question number one is, what is your favorite drugstore eyeshadow brand? And that was an easy one to answer. For sure, it is Wet n Wild. Whether it's their single in the color Brulee that I talk about all the time, that's just the perfect brow bone color, or their 8 pans, like Comfort Zone, which kind of are like a cult favorite here. My personal all-time favorite trio, my go-to shadow when I don't know what to do, is the Walking on Eggshells that I've talked about recently in my favorite top 10 under 10. They're creamy, they're pigmented, they last a long time, they don't crease, they're wonderful shadows. The price point is unbelievable. My only regret with Wet n Wild, who remembers when they first relaunched themselves and they had the Vanity palette, they were little 6 pans. I still have mine, but I wish they would bring those back. They were great. Okay, next question is favorite eyeshadow primer. And I hate to say the same brand again, but I'm gonna have to. For sure, it's the Wet n Wild. This has different names. It's part of the Fergie collection, and I think it's officially called Take on the Day eyeshadow primer. Hands down the best. For me, what I'm looking for in an eyeshadow primer is to even out the pigmentation or lack thereof on my eyelids, get rid of the veininess, and make it a smooth, even canvas for my shadows to just glide across. I don't have oily lids, so it's not so much to make them sticky, but just a nice, even canvas. And I've tried every high-end shadow primer there is. Wet n Wild just blows everyone else out of the water. So grab this one. First, what was your first ever eyeshadow purchase, and do you still have it? Well, that was a really long time ago, and I remember it though, it was the CoverGirl. They probably still make some version of this. It was by CoverGirl, and it was a little palette that had tiny little squares of eyeshadow in there. There were probably 12 or 16 little shades, and I had my little sponge applicator, and I used every single color in there until there was nothing left. It never occurred to me that someone could have more than one palette. Times have changed. But no, I do not still have it. It's long, long, long gone. Okay, this was a good one, and this took me a while. Best drugstore shadow dupe. So when I first started YouTube, my collection admittedly was much more drugstore than high-end. I've definitely switched that around. I do use a lot more high-end. But back in the day when I first started, I didn't have the budget for high-end, so I was constantly trying to dupe the looks that I saw other YouTubers doing with drugstore stuff, and I had a ton of them to show you. But since then, the drugstore dupes I have, the dupe version has been discontinued, even though the high-end version still exists. So I don't want to show you a dupe that you might not have in your collection. But I did search. This did take some time, and I found a good one. So I have a handful of pigments that I love. The one I reach for all the time, it's so versatile because you can use it on your lid, you could use it as a very intense highlight, you can even put a little in the middle of your lip. It's MAC Vanilla. It's a beautiful shade. I'm gonna swatch it, don't worry. Well, the dupe I found for it is one of the L'Oreal Infallible shadows, and it's the Iced Latte one. Wait till you see this. So let's swatch. So there is MAC Vanilla. And now let's swatch the L'Oreal one. So you can see that once I move them back and forth in the light, if I hit them both at the same time, the one on the top is the L'Oreal, the one on the bottom is the MAC. They both have a slight duochrome to them where the dogs are deciding to join in on this party. There is a slight pink flash when you flash it in the light, but they are really, really close. And I would say if you're trying to duplicate a look done with MAC Vanilla, you can most certainly use the L'Oreal Infallible. You will, I love this shadow all by itself, whether it's a dupe or not. The whole L'Oreal Infallible line would probably be a close runner-up to my favorite drugstore eyeshadow. Now the next question, where are we? Number 5, or halfway done, is most underrated shadow. Okay, this is gonna sound crazy, but I've been on YouTube for over 5 years, and I've been watching for a year or two longer than that. And back in the day, every eyeshadow look was all about MAC. MAC, 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 MAC. We never hear about MAC anymore. And so I'm gonna say that MAC is the underrated shadow, MAC is the underrated shadow palette, what have you. Look at all these guys that don't get used anymore because we're always reaching for the newest and shiniest things. In fact, I just picked up a whole new MAC palette, the MAC Warm Neutral collection. Look at all these pretty shades. Why are we not talking about them? It is a shame. These are beautiful and we should bring MAC back. I want to see MAC seen more on YouTube. I'm going to personally try to do more because so many of us have MAC in our collection. Yes, new shadows have come out. Yes, some of them are more affordable or creamy or whatever, but there is a reason why we all love MAC and we need to start using them again. Speaking of MAC, favorite single eyeshadow. I'm going to reach into this Z palette. These are my most used MAC shadows. And this sad little guy right here is my favorite. Here is MAC Woodwinked. This is a beautiful coppery bronze shade. Here it is on my finger. Here it is on my finger. What I love about this is oh my God, this dog. It's kind of a duochrome. You see the reflection here? So depending on what brush you use to put it on your lid, you can make this basically 3 different colors. You use a flat brush to put it on the lid, a more dense brush to put it in the crease, more of a pencil brush to put it in the outer corner, and you are gonna look like you have 3 different shadows on your lid. And it blends out. It's just a beautiful color. If you have blue or green eyes, oh, look at that shine. On to my favorite cream eyeshadow. Well, I talk a lot about high-end shadows, but the reality is that I really do use more Drugstore than I thought because this is another one, didn't have to think. It's the Maybelline Color Tattoo line. The one I reached for is inked in pink. These are great all by themselves. They're great as a base under your eyeshadow. That's inked in pink. You can kind of see. There you go. There's such a wide color variety. You can get neutrals to wear under shadows, or you can go for bright colors. They have turquoise and purples and greens. I love them. They don't crease on me. They last forever. You could use them as a primer, like I said. They're great. They beat out all the other ones that I have in my collection, for sure. Next question, favorite neutral eyeshadows. I feel like these are getting brought up a lot this month on my channel. No question, the Physicians Formula Matte Quad, specifically the Classic Nudes. These 4 are the perfect complement to any eyeshadow look. You can, combine these with any other palette to even everything out. Make sure you have your brow bone color there. You have some shades as transition shades. You have some to deepen the crease in the outer corner. This is what I reach for when I'm doing a colored eyeshadow look. And speaking of colored eyeshadows, the next question is, what are your favorite colored eyeshadows? And that I did have to think about because I don't own a lot of colored eyeshadows. I don't reach for colored eyeshadows. I apologize. Bosley is pacing back and forth just on the other side of the camera. He cannot figure out what I'm doing in the dining room. But once I opened up some drawers and started looking at what I have, it became very apparent that the master of colored eyeshadows is Urban Decay. Point here, case in point. This is Vice 2. Look at these colors. Look at this beautiful violet shade. Look at that. Look at this gorgeous deep emerald. I mean, I am barely touching my finger to the palette. Here's a really gorgeous blue right there. I mean, they're gorgeous. So if you want to venture into color, that palette is not available anymore. We've gone through Vice 3 and now Vice 4 is available. So I've linked that one below, but Urban Decay they've got to be the master of colored eyeshadow. They make the most beautiful, intense, vibrant shades. And the last question, what is the best palette ever? What is your most favorite palette? I did not have to think about this because when in doubt, I reach for this constantly. This is probably gonna win some kind of prize in my personal collection for 2015. It is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. The original, not the semi-sweet. I love the semi-sweet, but not as much as I love this one. This palette just has everything that you could possibly need for a neutral eye, for a little bit of a plummy eye. There's a deep olive kind of shade over here. Sorry, I'm blinding you guys. But, I mean, this is just a neutral, natural, the perfect amount of satin, the perfect amount of matte. You've got your highlight color, your brow bone color. Everything you need is right here in this palette. You have some dark colors that I'm covering up with my fingers. It's perfect, and it smells of chocolate. So that is my favorite palette, best palette ever as far as I am concerned. So that's the collection, that's the tag. Thank you for bearing with all the stuff that's going on outside the camera range. It's been a little crazy. Of course, the second that I finish this video, Bosley decides to lay down. I would love to hear your answers to some of these questions because I love to see what you have in your collection. I get some great ideas from you. I'm not gonna waste any more of your time listing everyone who I think should do this video. I will list them in the description box below. Please do not forget to open up that description box and read everything in there. I list all the products that I mentioned with links. I list everything that's on my face with links. I list the equipment that I use. There's all kinds of information, my social media info. So please go ahead and take a look because I spend a lot of time filling out all that stuff and a lot of the answers to your questions are in there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again, Mary, for tagging me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. But anyway, let's get on with the fragrances. And I did take notes because I didn't want to just smell it and go, ooh, this smells good. That doesn't help you at all. So I'm just going to tell you that I have